Have you ever wondered why Draco Malfoy hated Harry Potter so much? What if his hatred wasn't just petty jealousy, but something much deeper? In today's video, you'll discover the real reasons behind their legendary rivalry. Throughout the entire series, Harry Potter is portrayed as the ultimate hero. That makes sense. After all, the early books were meant for children, and a complex, morally ambiguous protagonist wouldn't have fit the tone. Draco, on the other hand, became the perfect antagonist. Arrogant, cruel, and cowardly, he seemed to exist purely to make Harry's life miserable. Tom Felton's brilliant performance only solidified this image. But was Draco really just a spoiled bully? Or was there more to his animosity toward Harry? The truth is, Draco had every reason to resent him. A childhood shaped by bloodlines. To understand Draco's hatred, we need to look at where he came from. He was the only son of Lucius Malfoy, a wealthy, pure-blood wizard who once served Lord Voldemort. His mother, Narcissa Black, came from an equally prestigious magical family. From childhood, Draco was taught that he was special, superior to Muggle-borns and those with lesser heritage. With no siblings to challenge him and parents who reinforced his pride, Draco grew up believing he was destined for greatness. By the time he arrived at Hogwarts, he was already entitled, arrogant, and used to getting his way. But was that enough to make him despise Harry Potter? Probably not. After all, Draco had his own circle of friends. His true resentment came from something far more personal: the first betrayal. Before he even set foot in Hogwarts, Draco had already heard of the boy who lived. His parents speculated that Harry would grow up to be an even greater dark wizard than Voldemort himself. They were eager to see what kind of ally or rival he might become. Draco's first encounter with Harry was in Diagon Alley. Not knowing who he was speaking to, he treated him politely, even trying to befriend him later on the Hogwarts Express. He reached out first, offering his hand and an alliance. Harry's response: public rejection. It wasn't just a refusal, it was a humiliation. Harry chose Ron Weasley over him, laughed at Draco's words, and made it clear that he wanted nothing to do with the Malfoys. For Draco, who had been raised to believe in status and legacy, this was a crushing blow. It was the beginning of their rivalry and a wound that never quite healed. A lifetime of unfairness. As if the rejection wasn't enough, Hogwarts quickly became a nightmare for Draco in one particular way. No matter what he did, Harry always stole the spotlight. Draco was smarter, more disciplined, and more skilled in many areas. Yet despite his efforts, Harry always received praise, attention, and admiration, not because he worked harder, but because he was famous. Professors, except for Snape, favored Harry. Students idolized him. Even when Draco outperformed him in academics or Quidditch, it never seemed to matter. For a boy raised to believe in prestige and superiority, this was unbearable. The frustration built up, feeding into his resentment. A life defined by expectation. Unlike Harry, who had the freedom to choose his own path, Draco was bound by family expectations. He didn't just dislike Harry, he feared him. Because if Harry won, that meant the Malfoy legacy was crumbling. His father expected him to uphold their bloodline's reputation. His mother pressured him to be the perfect son. His entire world revolved around pleasing his family and living up to their ideals. So when Voldemort returned, Draco wasn't just fighting for his own beliefs, he was fighting to survive. Unlike Harry, he never had the choice to be a hero. The redemption that almost was. For all his cruelty, Draco wasn't heartless. Despite years of rivalry, he hesitated when given the chance to expose Harry to Bellatrix Lestrange. He wasn't as ruthless as his father had wanted him to be, and in the end, he rejected Voldemort's cause entirely. I'm not saying Draco was secretly a good person or that Harry was the villain, but if you take a step back, it's clear. Draco had plenty of reasons to hate Harry, and in his position, many others would have felt the same. But hatred is never one-sided. While Draco resented Harry for his fame, Harry never made an effort to understand Draco either. From their very first meeting, he dismissed him as arrogant, cruel, and not worth his time. And maybe that was true. Maybe Draco deserved it. But that dismissal only fueled the fire. Draco didn't just see Harry as an enemy. He saw him as a living, breathing reminder of everything he could never be. Free, respected, loved. Because no matter how much his parents adored him, their love came with conditions. Draco had to live up to the Malfoy name. He had to be perfect. He had to be ruthless. Harry, on the other hand, had people who cared about him just because he existed. Ron, Hermione, Hagrid, Dumbledore. Even strangers admired him. He didn't have to prove himself. He didn't have to be the best. People just liked him. That must have driven Draco insane. The rivalry between them was never just about school. It was personal. It was about identity, about legacy, about the crushing weight of expectation. Draco tried to bring Harry down in every way possible. He insulted his friends, mocked his family, turned Slytherin against him. But none of it worked, because no matter what he did, Harry always had someone in his corner. And Draco? Deep down, he was alone. Even his so-called friends, Crabbe and Goyle, weren't true allies. They followed him because of his last name, because their fathers worked for his father, because that was the way things were. But when things got real, when the war came to Hogwarts, they weren't there for him. They were just as lost as he was. Maybe that's why Draco hesitated when he had the chance to turn Harry in. Maybe that's why, in the end, he couldn't be the villain everyone expected him to be. Because Draco Malfoy never truly hated Harry Potter. He hated what Harry represented. He hated that no matter how hard he tried, he would never be the hero. And that realization broke him. Imagine what it must have been like for Draco, standing in the Great Hall after the battle, watching everything he believed in collapse. His father, once so powerful, now weak and afraid. His mother, holding on to him like he was the only thing that mattered. Harry had won. Not just the war, not just the battle, but everything. Harry had found freedom. He had built his own future. He had the life Draco could never have. And yet, even after everything, Harry never truly hated Draco in return. He could have let him suffer, could have turned his back on him, but he didn't. Because in the end, Harry knew something Draco had never understood. Hatred only has power if you let it. Draco spent years trying to bring Harry down. And what did it get him? Nothing. Harry didn't need revenge. He didn't need to see Draco suffer. He just needed to move forward. Maybe that's why Draco never tried to reach out after the war. Because what do you say to someone who destroyed everything you believed in, but never lifted a finger against you? What do you say to someone who showed you mercy when you never once deserved it? Draco Malfoy was never a true villain. He was never a hero either. He was just a boy born into the wrong story. A boy who was never given the chance to be anything more than what others expected him to be. And maybe, just maybe, that's the real tragedy of his life.